Hello and welcome to Feng Shui with Anita and Cheryl and our playlist, the F.L.A.W.C, otherwise known as the F.L.A.W.C. And of course, you know, our loving acronym for the F.L.A.W.C is Fruit Loop and Wind Chime Club, but it can stand for so many things, like flowing love, activating whirling chi. So, and I'm sure David will, you know, grace us with his own.
I wrote one down.
I did. of our flock. And so we are so happy today with our guest, and Cheryl is going to make the introduction.
Yay! I am so stoked because I had the absolute privilege to meet this incredible man. About 2 years ago now, we were preparing for a telesummit and he came on to coach us. And you know how you have instant relationship with somebody? That was my case. I was so thrilled with what he taught, how he led, just his energy, that I then had to tell my friend Anita about this incredible man. And across her face came this puzzle.
And I said, oh, I know David Gross. And she goes, what?
Yeah,
Said,
exactly.
yeah. You know, and I had the privilege of meeting David at a Cryon event. And you know what, just like you said, Cheryl, like David's energy, you know, my energy was just immediately magnetized to his. And we were just like, and we had an immediate connection. We had great conversation. And there was just that soul recognition, that soul knowingness that I found one of my flock, right?
Yes.
It was totally that. And so so blessed to know you and call you my friend. And like I say, I'm just getting goosebumps just thinking about that, you know, our first meeting and how beautiful and special and synchronistic it was. And I carry you in my heart. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing, Anita, because I can think back to those moments and those days, and it's as if I'm transported there now and no time has passed because of that connection that we feel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. So
it is.
Anyway, David T. Gross is our special guest today. I'm just delighted. I'm tickled pink because it's been a while since we've had a conversation.
It's been over a year, right?
Yeah.
Well, except for text, but anyway.
It's not the same. It's just not the same. The energy is there, yes, but it's just not the same as seeing that cute face. So, Anita, I know you're dying to ask this question. I have a little insight, but you're going to get updated quickly.
Okay. David.
Yes.
Tell us how you are currently expressing your gifts and talents out in the world today. So in short, you know, whoa. Because we know that you have many. And, you know, when we're expressing our true essence and being our authentic self, that's how we are being of service in the world. And, you know, some people like to call it their, you know, their job or what they do. And we just like to call it expressing your natural gifts and talents. So tell us, what does that look like for David T. Gross?
Well, the only challenge in that is when you said shortly, it's like, oh, damn, I can't keep that too short. However, here's my attempt at this. And actually, I'm going to be, sorry if I haven't spoken yet today, rather obviously. So pardon me for coughing and hacking into a big mic here. So here's an insight actually that is quite an epiphany that came to me in the last month or so. And I'll just give you a little bit of context around it. And I'm for anybody who doesn't know me, I do speak quickly. So please kind of buckle up and hang on because the flow goes pretty fast here, right? And I'm also cognizant of the time that we have as well. So just to put a little bit of context here, my partner and I have been watching a couple of movies or series actually on Netflix. And there are, of course, characters and there's plot and there's settings and there's all the stuff going on in those movies. But what I was realizing is that in my personal reflection on what I witnessed in the movies I was shifting how I saw myself and saw the world, which is kind of cool. And I guess that's something that happens to many of us when we watch movies that have an influence or impact on us in some way. We have the opportunity then to shift our perception of, well, what does that mean? Oh, what does this mean now in the context of my life, right? So Anita, to kind of bring it back home. So for anybody who doesn't know me, I tend to cast the line far out into the ocean, and then I reel it back on the dock in a second here. So I'm reeling it back on the dock here with this one. So what I've come to realize, the work that I've been doing, the connected work that I've been doing now for 37 years has gifted me, I'll use that language because that feels appropriate, over 1,500 hours of audio and video of me on stages doing the work that I do. And Cheryl knows me, so she knows this is in alignment with many that are out there. Esther Hicks would be one, for example. So there's some similarity in how it might be seen or perceived as being the work, let's call it that. I do a lot of group sessions where I have what I call the snapshots, which are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes in length. What I recognized, and actually, no, I didn't recognize it. What came to me, let's put it that way, a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, is this. What if me watching a movie and shifting my awareness of the world and myself that was born from the storytelling in the movie, what if the work that I am doing, and I have 12, I counted 2 days ago, I have 12 books in the editing stages here. There's a lot coming down the pipe. What if the short stories that I'm telling, which are it's very connected, right? They're very short stories. I call them snapshots, 5, 6, 7. Cheryl's familiar with these, a handful of minutes only in length. What if each of these snapshots in and of themselves is a story, kind of like a little bit of a movie, because there's a visual component to it. There's a visceral component to it as well. What if each of those is the opportunity for anyone who connects with me or my work to, I'm gonna go into the dimensions here, to expand your awareness and maybe go into a subconscious or superconscious state of, wow, that's a lesson from my past, maybe my childhood, for example, or that's a lesson from my past, which transcends time and space. That's a lesson that I haven't quite wound together and figured up and cleared up yet. So the opportunity is, hey, have a little bite into this snapshot of this session here of a 7, 10 minute, 12-minute story, but it ignites within us the opportunity to clear up something. And Feng Shui is all about cleansing and aligning, right? Like clearing up and aligning. So in a way, it's kind of Feng Shui for the mind, Feng Shui for the soul, where my work I've discovered is the opportunity to connect with short, because they don't have to be the whole hour and 90 or 90-minute, hour and a half long sessions that I do a lot of the time too, just short snapshot, 5 to 7, 10, 11, 12 minutes, where the story in and of itself is a nugget of a potential to learn something, or not even learn, gain awareness of something through which we may learn something, which expands our own awareness of ourselves and the world around us, which shifts who we are. And to take it to the next step here, shifts who we are by, because Feng Shui in my mind is a releasing and clearing out of energy that's not moving, right? So there's a lot of aligning going on here. So my work to me is a reflection of the opportunity to align and cleanse and clear out things that have pinched us off from the magnificence of who we are, so that we can align more with our higher selves and evolve, expand, align, elevate into the fullness of who we are. And now we'll take a breath.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I'm trying to go, I'm just trying to absorb all this, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to watch the replay.
Well, there's a lot to the concept, and it just came to me in the context of watching movies, where I realized a couple of days later in conversation with a dear friend, oh my God, I'm thinking about this in a different way. I'm perceiving this in a different way. And oh man, that came from that movie I was watching, or that came from over there. And then I was sharing some of my snapshots with a couple of friends. And then I realized that's what's happening, is these are opportunities to gain insight into a contextual kind of a pearl there, that were maybe even a jawbreaker like the candy that I had in the 60s growing up, where you kind of work it to the core. But when you get to the core, it's like, oh, that's what it's all about.
That's the juicy part.
That's what it's all about, right? So sometimes on the surface, we don't even know what's going on. And sometimes on the surface of our lives, we don't even know why we're feeling out of alignment, right? Why is the energy not working? Why am I not motivated? Why am I not inspired? Why am I tired? All of that. Why am I not following my passion? Why am I holding myself back from following my passion? All of that, right? It's like, oh, we got to clear out that energy. How do we do that? with a little bit of guidance in all ways.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I
cool.
love it.
And that guidance comes in many forms. So in your
Absolutely.
case, the movie triggered new awarenesses, new guidances,
Exactly.
new perceptions. So
Yes.
when people talk about the universe talking to us all the time
Yeah.
in multiple ways until we get it, until we hear it.
Yeah.
Hearing it for you was actually watching a movie.
And interesting, yes, and I will weave this together because I'm watching a gentleman by the name of Sadhguru out of India, India and the US, an amazing man to watch. And I watched one of his videos the other day that talked about timing. And he said, yes, we have a value, we value the knowledge, we value the information, we value the insights, but he said, sometimes we lose sight of valuing the timing. And the timing for me in the last month or so of getting this, the clarity at this level, like even this morning, as I was getting ready, thinking, oh, we're going to be on a call, I can't wait. I had some insights. It's like, I never saw it that way before. It's like the timing is everything. Yeah.
And like our good friend Lee Carroll, Cryon says, a lot of times the universe or our guidance system will give us information and we'll do it, right? We'll motivate and we're like, oh yeah, let's go. And then it doesn't kind of work out the way we thought it might. And then spirit goes, wait a minute, that information wasn't for right now. That was for in the future, right?
Yes,
so
it's
when you talk
planting the
about
seed.
timing, that's like, that's been the story of my life.
Well, there's 3 words that I use in a lot of my work because I'm doing a lot of training actually right now in corporate training within mindset with this. It's kind of cool. I use the 3 words, and of course, alliteration is a big thing that I use the we for describing my connection, that we use alliteration all the time. So the first one is that there's an expansion of our awareness. There's also kind of the elevation of our awareness, and it is all combined, the evolution of our awareness. So when you're talking, Anita, about the timing, okay, I saw that, but I just wasn't ready for it, or I just wasn't where, here we go, thinking about a track with the Olympics coming up, thinking about a track. I wasn't on a place on that track where that would come to me in a way where I would see it differently than from where I am right now. Right? So, and actually to use the analogy of the track, saying being on track, we're always on track because we're always connected, but we're not always clear. Right?
So you help corporate clients, you help people like me, like Cheryl,
yes,
in your coaching business.
True, absolutely, and with no disrespect for men, 999 out of 1,000 people who come to see me are women, because the women are the ones right now who are doing the work, and we need this support for women, is from my perspective. And actually some languaging that I put around this, and Cheryl, I think we might have even had a conversation about this a year or so ago. What I've come to understand, I don't like that word understand, it seems kind of tofu, there's not a lot of meaning to it. What I've come to respect, what I've come to gain a greater awareness of, is the absolute importance, especially at this point in time, of balancing the support from the sacred masculine for the divine feminine. We've
been actually hearing that a lot, and that is so important. And that we need people like you, David, because we need that masculine energy to say to the feminine energy, you know what, it's okay, we honor you, and to lift up that feminine energy. And also I think there's an opportunity as well in this shift that's happening for the feminine aspect of the male energy to be balanced as well. And that again takes us back to the most recognized symbol in the world, which is the yin yang symbol, which shows us that we've got this masculine feminine energy, and that it together it creates the whole, the unity, the raising of consciousness, the awareness, all of those things. So
100%.
I love that you bring that up, because it is a common theme in a lot of what we're hearing in that awareness awakening energies. Yeah.
And I would like to take it, I want to add two little aspects to here. The first one that my heart is so drawn to comes from my connection with my mom. So having such a powerful a woman of power, woman of influence as my mom, who from the time I was a little kid, when I was leaving my body and traveling and doing stuff, said, tell me more, protect yourself and tell me more, right? She encouraged me all of my life, right? And my mom was doing the connected work, my grandmother. So I'm the third generation that we know of that is doing this type of connected work. It is through the support of my mom. Oh, can I get really personal here? And I'm going to try not to tear up on this one here because it's so personal for me.
It's all good.
Is it okay just for a couple of seconds?
Absolutely.
Couple of minutes? Because I story tell, that's kind of what I do here.
And people learn from stories.
They do. So just not going too deep into the context here, too deep into the story, but my mom had lung cancer twice over a, I guess, 20-year period. So she had lung cancer, had surgery, was clear, 10 years later, came back on the other side, had surgery, became clear 10 years later, came back in another way, which ultimately and eventually took her out, which was so shocking. What I've come to understand, because I talk to my mom all the time, and by the way, Cheryl knows this, my mom and I always talked about writing books together when she was alive. And that's weird languaging to use, but I guess average people would not, I hate saying the average too, that's so disrespectful, but most of us would say, okay, alive being 3D world, right? So growing up, my mom, we had a library in the house, very well read, always told me to go to the dictionary to check out words, but I didn't know even when I was like 7 or 10 years old. Check it out in the dictionary. It's like, oh, just tell me. Anyway, we always talked about writing books and we never really got around to it and we couldn't really figure out what to write. My mom and I started writing within 48 hours after she passed. She came back and said, hey, here's where I am. Here's what it's all about. Here's who I'm with. And hey, let's start. We wrote 6 books together in the 6 months after she passed. That just I said would sit down on the computer, to me and through me. So we have this powerful, powerful connection. When my mom was ill, she said to me, I brought this in, I called this in because she was holding on to some energies that were dense and heavy in energy, not serving her in very great ways. She knows that she called in those illnesses to her life. She knows that. And we talked about it when she was alive. What I've come to realize as an extension of my connection with her is, what if by aligning us, and so it's kind of feng shui for the mind and soul, really, in a sort of way here, but what if clearing out some of the limiting beliefs, some of the anger, some of the grief, some of the guilt, some of the blame, some of the whatever doesn't feel good within us that we might not be thinking about consciously every moment of the day or even throughout our day or through our lives, but when something happens and triggers us, it's like, oh man, when we have a pretty powerful gut reaction to things that don't feel so good for us, it's still in there, right? We know that. So what if the opportunity, weaving it back to where we started here, the opportunity to watch a movie, the opportunity to watch some little snapshots actually allows us the opportunity to clear up some of that energy so that we don't hold on to it, so that we shift ourselves into the alignment of health and well-being rather than the alternative.
That sounds amazing.
Kind of cool, right?
So in all of that and in all of your styles of coaching and clients that you work with, how do you actually help? Oh,
love that question. So here's, and you both know Cryon so well, and you know Lee Carroll so well, so you'll totally be able to relate to this. When I'm doing a group session, and Cheryl, you were, even though it was virtual, we did a group session kind of experience, so you're familiar with this one here. The way that I want to get the language right, because I could use surface language to describe what I want to mean, but I want to go what I call going deeper to what I'm really trying to communicate here, right? So my background is I've been working in temples in 7 different countries for 38 or more years. So I've got a very interesting and very, very, very colorful history in connection with aligned work in sacred spaces. Let's just call it that. It doesn't have to be temples, although many times it was. Sometimes it was a forest, but in sacred spaces. So what I've come to understand and to appreciate is that my opportunity is to connect with individuals. One-on-one is wonderful, and I love those sessions. Pardon me. However, when I'm working with a group, and the group could be 5, could be 50, could be 500. The largest I've worked with is 1,500, so it's a pretty good size to work with, right? what I love is that when I'm in this connected state of being, we, which is the language that I use to describe this, we are able to assess in the crowd what is going to be common, no, what is going to be not only a common thread or threads of insight that's going to be valuable for them, but we can also structure them so that there's a flow for one goes to the next, goes to the next, goes to the next, and they're all interconnected and supportive of one another in support of everyone who's in the room. So if it's 5 or 50 or 500 or 1500, everyone will be supported. And here's Cheryl, to kind of bring it back to your question, what I think is quite unique here, in the moment for who is there. So although there could be information and insights that could support other people years later who were never present in that room, this is an opportunity for me to tap in to receive information and just be the translator, the conveyor of information, really, for others to clear out. And actually what to me in my mind differentiates me from my experiences with others growing up is everything is storytelling to activation, storytelling to implementation. What are you going to do with this? So inspiration is wonderful. Motivation is great. I love being inspired. But in the same way that I can watch Facebook or look at Facebook and see things go by and feel so inspired for about 10 or 15 seconds, and then half an hour later in the car, somebody cuts me off and I'm not so inspired anymore, right? What I've discovered is that my work, and plus the fact that I've been a teacher in school systems, I've been a school principal for a handful of years. I've managed education from the teacher's perspective and the administrator's perspective. I always want to bring it home to an educational component with what are you going to do with this, right? So not only is it in alignment with what is needed at the time, but then there's the activation, implementation. What do you do now, right? So that's how it changes slightly to me from others that I've experienced.
Excellent. So in all of that, are you doing, we had the pause, of course, so most things went online.
Yes.
Is it as impactful, do you find, in all your experiences, in an online setting as it is in live?
Yes. Yes. And I'm going to go deeper. So I'm going to unravel some layers there. Yes, the impact is there because the languaging is there, the messaging is there, the depth of insight is there. Everything is the same, be it virtual or live. Live being, I can get my arms around it, kind of that live, right? That live that we miss so much, right? Yes, it's identical. However, the only differentiating factor is that when people are live with me in a room, so we can get our arms around one another, where we are, well, we're eye to eye right now, or eye to camera to eye right now, as it were, right? But when we are live in the room together, the vibration is different because people who come to those rooms are coming with a level of expectation and allowing, and there's no distractions. In the virtual environment, if they come aligned with the expectation and the intention of being fully present, 100% the same. But if they come with puppies or kids or male people or whatever the heck it happens to be, and distractions in their life, and therefore, if they even come, okay, I'm going to bring it back to Feng Shui for a second here. At this desk where I'm sitting now and where I work, even though I got a couple of computers and a handful of monitors going on there, I always make sure that when I am doing connected work or when I'm doing my inspired, let's call it inspired, because I write courses for big companies and that's inspired work to me as well, right? It's not just coming out of my head, it's inspired. I take everything off the desk that is not necessary. I just want this flow of this clean energy flow in my space. So to bring it back home, back onto the dock, as it were, Cheryl, to answer your question, the virtual experience is exactly the same in the offering. The receiving, however, might be slightly different if people haven't cleaned up the energy of where they are. And I don't mean in their mind, but where they are physically, or they've got distractions going around here. And therefore, they might not, I don't want to say appreciate, but they might not recognize necessarily the intensity of what's being offered in a virtual environment if they have distractions that might take them away energetically. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It sure does to us Feng Shui girls.
Well, there we go.
Environment,
yes,
right? And because, one of the things that we talk about a lot of times is where your eye goes, right? In Feng Shui, where your eye goes is where your attention goes. Where your attention goes, that's where your energy goes. So, I mean, that's such a great
Yes.
point for so many people that are doing any online work. Yeah, it's
Yes.
so important to have that physical space in alignment with your intention.
And Anita, can I just add from my personal experience to where your eye goes? Because I so agree with that. That's totally in alignment. And we got a siren. I apologize for that one here. Maybe that's confirmation in another way, right? Okay.
You have no control over that one.
Well,
so long as they're not coming for you. That's
no,
right.
no. I'm not going to go there. However, but Anita, to speak to your statement, which is so brilliant about where the eye goes, I also take that because my teacher's mind kicks in, right? So my teacher's, everything I do, there's my teacher's mind in the back and there's my connected mind on this side here. And there's no battle going on. It's just this beautiful collaboration and connection going on here. So a teaching point to where the eye goes that just came to me when you were sharing that, because I thought, yes, 100%. But at the same time, I think it's valuable to recognize that where the eye avoids, like I don't want to look under the bed. I don't want to look in the corner. I don't want to go over there because I know there's some stuff piled up there and some stuff piled up there and some stuff hidden over there that I don't want to address right now. So sometimes as well, in balance with, go back to the yin yang, right? In balance with where my eye goes, if I'm consciously or maybe even subconsciously avoiding certain things, that adds to the mix as well in not a good way.
Yeah,
right?
Thank you for that.
Awesome. It just made sense to share that because that's the first thing that came to mind, because I totally agree with what you said about where the eye goes, and I get it. And that's why I clean my space and cleanse everything. But also, I remember times in my life where, because I've interested, doesn't really matter, it's a bit of a storytelling background here, but 7 times in my life, I have given away everything I've owned and started clean slate 7 times, which is interesting.
Wow.
Kind of relates to my many lifetimes of monkhood that I can remember 15 of them quite easily. Anyway, yeah. But at times I can recall being aware of things that needed to be done, things that needed to be cleaned up, things that needed to be put away that I was avoiding. And without it being in my conscious mind, I know now, because my awareness has expanded, I know now that that heavier, denser energy of trying to avoid something and not look at it was actually also pinching me off from the fullness of who I could be.
Being in the flow. Wow.
Beautiful.
Okay, I think we're definitely going to have to continue this conversation with this amazing fellow, David T. Gross. Cheryl.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add?
I other than I'm going, oh man, like there's so many nuggets that really you're going to have to watch this video. I have to watch this video more than once because his nuggets are constant. And when he's connected and he says we,
yeah,
you can almost see this channel, and he can't talk fast enough because the energy's coming through that fast. His glasses are still on.
I did. Well, here's the thing. I left them on because I'm looking at you and I'm in the blended being state of connecting with you. If we were doing a session just for you where I'm doing all the talking, glasses are off and we're in, right? Yeah, totally. You know that one. Yeah, you know that.
But yeah, I agree, Anita. I think this might be a perfect spot to segue into a part 2. Simply because there is so much to learn from this man. And we haven't even scraped the surface.
No, I think there'll be a part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Every couple months. Yeah, David, do you want to be our guest?
I've got 12 books, remember, in editing stages here, so we got a lot of content that we
do. I love it. I love it.
Perfect.
Okay, well, you know what? I know that our viewers are going to be wanting to go back and watch this replay so that they can take notes, as I do, and Cheryl as well. And so, David, stay tuned. And thank you for being our guest for our YouTube channel, Feng Shui with Anita and Cheryl, and specifically our beautiful playlist, the F.L.A.W.C. And we are so honored to have had you as our guest so that we could introduce our F.L.A.W.C. to you. So,
And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
mhm.